The Group Analytics feature of the Teacher Dashboard gives an overview of a group's performance for a particular assignment. To access this feature, go to the Dashboard drop-down menu and select Group Analytics. Here you can see the name of the group, the lab journal that was assigned to the group, the number of students that are included in the group, when the lab journal was assigned, when it was due, the average amount of time that students spend on the lab journal, and the assignment status as a whole for the group. So we have one student that has submitted it and 6 students have received feedback. You can see the average feedback ratio. This lets you know the number of negative versus positive feedback comments you've provided. If the number is closer to 0, that means you've provided mostly negative feedback items. If it's close to 1, that means you've provided mostly positive feedback items. And if the number is close to 0.5, that means you've provided a roughly equal amount of negative and positive feedback items. For more information, you can click the View Guide button. The guide gives you a more in-depth summary of how students are doing in the group. The Discussion Guide tab provides you with group statistics. So once again, you see an overview at the top. You can see pie charts of the assignment status and the iterations. So this is the number of times students in the group have submitted the assignment. This breaks down that feedback ratio a bit more for you, along with a total feedback count, so you can see the proportions more clearly. You can see the statistics on a step-by-step basis for the positive versus negative feedback you provided for each step. So you can identify if students are having trouble with one particular step. You can also see examples of strong and weak experimental design. So this is considered a strong experimental design because it's collecting a great number of data points. This is considered a weak experimental design because it's only collecting 2. You can also see examples of the most used positive and the most used negative feedback to give you an idea of any misconceptions that students might commonly hold in this group. If desired, you can print the guide by selecting the Print Guide button. I'm going to do that right now. You can also go to the Group Data tab. Group Data gives you aggregate data from the experiments that your group submitted. So for the first graph, you can see the distribution of experimental duration. So this is the durations chosen by members of your group. We had 3 students choose 1 second duration. We had 2 students choose 3 seconds, and so on. You can see the source of radiation chosen by students for their experiments. You can see if they chose absorbers for their experiments. That was not a part of this particular lab. You can see the distribution of the number of experimental trials chosen by students. So we had 4 students choose just 1 trial. We had 1 student choose 3 trials. We had 2 students choose 4 trials. You can see the distribution of distances at which radiation was measured that was chosen by the students. So you can see there were 5 different students that chose 15 as a distance, and so on. There's some pop-up information as well. You can see the number of distances chosen by students. So we had 2 different students chose just 2 distances, 1 student chose 3 distances, 1 student chose 4, and so on. You can expand these graphs if you'd like to project them in your classroom for class discussion. The last section of the guide shows the aggregate experimental results for the group. This is all of the results, all of the measurements that were taken in all of the trials by all of your group members. You can expand this graph to discuss this more with your class. You can also export the results to an Excel file if you would like to make your own graph or manipulate those data in some other way.